Okay, we're looking to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we're actually doing a sub-segment called Wristwatch Rambles and Rants, which is a paid, basically a sponsored series brought to you by Wrist Candy Watch Club. So instead of doing some level of a paid review, essentially what I do instead for sponsored content is I will just plug the brand and their products while doing kind of an unrelated segment. And in this case, we're going to be talking about Seiko's Mini Turtle, and I'm going to propose a question to you guys. Is this a future collectible cult classic? And I think it does have really the makings of it. And looking at some of the actual prices on the market now for these watches that have just recently been discontinued, but there's still plenty of new old stock available, it's pretty enticing. So a little bit about the brand. Seiko was founded back in 1881. They're Japanese in origin, but now have factories throughout Asia. They cover all market segments from entry level to high end. In terms of the type of watch, these are dive watches. Some key common characteristics in design: when you're looking for a diver, you're going to want water resistance, typically with some type of screw down crown. You're going to want something that's tough, legible with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. This is a small sampling of my collection in terms of the Prospex Mini Turtle line, which again was recently discontinued. And honestly, at one point they really looked to become the next SKX. But really didn't catch on despite a lot of enthusiast support, and I think a lot of folks really enjoyed these watches, but I guess they just never had that crossover appeal, especially once they kind of revived the SKX within the Seiko 5 line. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get these pieces in hand, and take a closer look. Alright guys, so a little word from the sponsor, Wrist Candy Watch Club. What are they known for? Well, they're known for NATO straps. Similar to these here, this is just a small selection of some of their offerings. They actually have even some newer offerings, which hopefully I'll get some samples to update and refresh these intros on these paid segments. So this is really what they're known for, are these great kind of affordable NATO straps, very useful. But what some of you don't know is that they actually dabble now in some higher end, more luxurious seatbelt style nylon NATO straps. So very cool. Thanks, big shout out to them, because now I get to kind of share my thoughts with you guys on something other than a direct review. And I've reviewed all of these timepieces on my channel in the past, so if you are looking for the direct reviews, definitely feel free to search my channel history for these pieces. Guys, so these actually range between $300 and $1,000. Not these particular models, but there are now Mini Turtle watches that are on eBay for like $1,000, which is pretty wild. And I think that's, I guess, kind of exciting for collectors. I mean, I don't know. For me, this is a wear watch. Like this in particular, this one, I've worn, in terms of getting out into the water sports, this has been kind of my go-to dive watch in terms of getting in the pool, whatever it might be, especially on this strap. This strap actually came on the Blue Dial model, and then I actually added the bracelet there and took the bracelet off of this guy here. But this is the kind of first gen, and I think in this configuration, it's really a great setup, guys. In terms of some of the dimensions here, they're outstanding. It's 42.3 millimeters across. Only 12.6 millimeters thick, right? And then it's, of course, it's Seiko'd. So in terms of ergonomics and undercutting and all that, guys, this is gonna wear nice and small, really, much smaller than you would think for a 42, especially since the lug to lug is only 43 millimeters. So really short lug to lug, which means it's going to sit very centered on the wrist. It's barely longer than it is wide, right? So really great. It also has this quirky little round cyclops, which I never had a problem with. And as you can see, for this being kind of my beater out of all these, anybody who's like, why can't they put sapphire on everything? Like, well, they don't really need to. Look at the perfect condition hard lex. So It's one of those things. Not all minerals are created equal. Every mineral glass watch that I've had that wasn't Hardlex pretty much has chipped or scratched or been damaged in some way. But Hardlex, I've never damaged it. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good sapphire crystal, but again, it doesn't turn me off. It's not a deal breaker for Hardlex, especially at this price point. This thing just wears fantastic, guys. You just put it on, great updated silicone. And you got to remember, when these were first released, they were very different than what else was in kind of Seiko's catalog. You had the crown at the 3 o'clock. You got the date. It's just a date versus a day date. At the time, the day date was kind of all the rage because the SKX had it, and then the Turtle reissue had it. And then here you had something different. It was just the date, which I think looks really great. You have very different indexes here. You can see kind of the tombstone style there. Not everybody was crazy about it, but I think it's very clean and quite contemporary, and I think it's going to age well. I think it already is aging well. Oh God, I love this blue. A very nice blue. I think on camera, of course, it's going to probably render a little brighter. You see it at an angle there. It's really bright. But you take it head on, and you get an idea of, just how dark really that is going to play. It's just a great medium blue tone. Let me give it a quick wipe. I see some dust on the Hardlex there again. Pristine Hardlex crystal. And then look at that. The magnifying Cyclops does exactly what it's supposed to do. It magnifies there. So really nice magnification. You can see behind there, it's quite a small marker. These two were, kind of original releases. They filled a real gap. I really love that, hacking, hand winding, and a lot of things SKX didn't give you. And then in a package that was just a little bit more conventional, and maybe that's what turned off some people. Maybe they wanted the quirkiness of a 4 o'clock crown. But, for me, this is just, even down to the bezel insert, everything is just very well put together, and I think the design really breathes. And then you have, of course, the bracelet, very reminiscent of the Sumo bracelet, but the Sumo was a much wider watch and even longer as well. So here, the 20 millimeters looks good. It suits it. I mean, it's nothing fancy. They're just single pieces that have been kind of contoured and beveled to look like a 3-link, but it's not 3 links. It's really just 2. I'm sorry, single. It's just 1, I should say. And then you do have, stamped folding mechanism here, and then you have this kind of tinny diver's extension, but it is that exactly. It's a diver's extension, and it works. So you do have that. It's very tidy once everything's closed up, as you can see. And that's one of the things I think is a little bit underrated about Seikos, is that they tend to flow really well in terms of link to clasp. That flows. It's nice and tidy. Look at that. Look at that profile, that silhouette. That wears really, really well. Again, love it on the strap. And then recently, before kind of phasing out, there was a couple of newer releases, including some. Before this, there was actually some regional specific releases like Thailand special editions and stuff like that. But this was a beautiful JDM example where they actually did update. You can see there's a little extra loom next to the 3 o'clock. And it's just so it can meet the new ISO compliance, where you're supposed to have it at every hour marking. So really beautiful. You're getting the red text, you're getting, the little red seconds hand there, and then it made in Japan. Very nice. I think this, actually the blue also has the made in Japan on the dial. Oh, look, all of these actually have the made in Japan dials. Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't even realize that. So, but I mean, you look at these right here, extremely versatile, great blue, great summertime watch. Then this is just extremely versatile. I mean, you take this, it's a 20 millimeter lug. They're drilled lugs. You throw this on a NATO, outstanding. You throw it on a rubber strap. I mean, you see even the factory rubber strap's great, but you could throw this on, you know, something a little bit more modern as well. They did actually, there is some aftermarket support for these in terms of going to strap code, or even Crafter Blue. So they do have some fitted end options, whether it be like a chunkier Jubilee bracelet if you want to really beef this thing up, or if you want to be, you know, very clean and svelte and put on a, you know, fitted end, very modern and minimalist strap there, versus this kind of more traditional sporty one where you're going to have, you know, a little bit of extra slack in there to be able to use it in different situations. But you can see, I mean, really well done. And yeah, it's just a great wear. Let's take this one off here, and let's get this blue bad boy on the wrists. And man, this still wears great. I mean, honestly, if I wasn't such a lunatic and maniac with collecting watches, I mean, this could easily be my only dive watch. Absolutely. This could be my only sports watch. It just does it all. Looks great. I think it's aging well. It still looks like a new model today. You know, it's a fantastic piece. Yet great bezel action that you would expect. Better than an SKX. Nothing crazy. Still smooth. You're getting a really nice grip on the bezel. Quite smooth, but still notchy enough to where you're getting a couple of clicks in there, and lines up pretty darn well, guys. Look at that. Alignment. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Is it perfectly aligned? Maybe not. You know, but in terms of well, actually, I think I got really lucky with these. It might have been that I actually, which is something that I do, and I advise all of you to do if you can, is always contact dealers and just ask them, hey, can you take a picture of the alignment and send me the one with the best alignment? And then they basically, it's good for them and it's good for you, because then you can approve which watch you know that you're okay with the alignment. So if there's something slightly off, or if it's right on point, you can find out. Look at that. Yeah, these are 3 unicorns of alignment for Seiko. Wow, that is like even backs in right on the line there. Very nice. And then even the indices, the kind of range there, so really great. In terms of the basic information, you're getting the 4R35, so it doesn't have the extended power reserve of the 6R movements, let alone the 6R35. You know, so 6R15, a little bit more power reserve, 50 hours, and then 70 hours for the 6R35. So, and then you're also getting kind of the Sprawn hairspring, which is great and gives you more anti-magnetic protection. So you don't get that with the 4R movements, but it also keeps the pricing down. I mean, at least while these were still in kind of regular production, it kept the pricing down. You're getting really nicely applied Lumabrite, which is fantastic. Of course, it's ISO certified, so it does, you know, meet the requirements to carry that diverse 200 meters text across the dial. You know, it has a pin and double collar connecting system, so it's not necessarily the easiest to set, but it is one of those ones where you pretty much set it and forget it. It's a little bit of trouble the one time you have to do it, and then it's real easy after that in terms of maintenance. Nothing's ever going to accidentally back itself out or pop out or anything like that. Also, you get a slight taper, so it goes from 20 millimeters down to 18. And then, yeah, this thing, it wears really great, and I enjoy it. Look at that. It's just, why don't I throw it on the other wrist so some of you can be happy to see this on what you would call the correct wrist, but I write with my left hand, so all my watches are worn on the right wrist. But you can see there, just a great wear, guys. Look at that on the wrist. Great in terms of the way it lays. Those undercuts are great in terms of the way that it wears. So there's a lot less material sitting on the back of your wrist. And then even as you articulate your wrist, there's less chance of you hitting anything on there. And then because of the high polish, it's going to reflect off of your skin or whatever you're wearing, and visually it's going to shrink things down. It's going to look like a little skinny sliver of brushing there. And you can see the transition is really nice. And that's one thing that Seiko's known for is, you know, the kind of above average in terms of pricing case finishing you're going to get. And I mean, these are really rounded lines, guys, and they're still really well done. Let me get a quick wipe on this one so we can use it for example. So let's get it. There we go. Check that out, guys. Very nice brushing. Okay, you can see some of the little wear marks on the high polish, but considering that's a soft edge, that's still a very crisp transition. Look at that. Very nice. That's quite impressive. Let me give it a quick little, because there's some dust on there. You know, it happens. But these are great. Again, this is just like, if you can find them, which you can, which is a cool thing, is that you can find these still, you know, in the $300 range, and they give you everything that you need from a dive watch. Really, it checks every box. It's a legitimate dive watch. It's not a dive style watch. This is a watch that you could dive with, and you can swim with. You can do any type of water sports, anything like that, and it'll be good to go. And it's cool, man. There's something that's very, it just has that Seiko DNA distilled really well. And yeah, it's a little funky, looks a little bit different, but I think honestly it's going to age well. And it's kind of like we look back in the 70s and those watches. And yeah, we didn't really want the 70s watches during the 90s, right? Like it was a little bit loud. But now you look at stuff inspired from the 70s and it's fun, and you know, it's a little pop, it's funky. And I think this is going to be a very similar case. People are going to see these as these funky little you know, examples, and maybe they'll get reissued. Of course, I think partially why they went away is because they wanted to make room for the new 6105 slim turtles, which look great. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one and sharing with you guys as soon as I can. I got a couple of different sources on those to trying to get the quickest one I can in, you know, without overpaying or anything like that. But these are great. We should probably even work in a little bit of loom shots, low light transition, stuff like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get that set up. All right, we'll go ahead and hit the lights here. Hey, would you look at that? Seiko Lumibright does it again. Another great feature on these and most Seiko watches is you're going to get the shielded loom pips at 12, so they're going to be clean and patina free, which is great. One thing I like to work in is some low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you'll find yourself, you know, coming in and outdoors, walking underneath overhangs, maybe spending some time in your favorite automobile. So it's nice, even with some harsh lighting here, that'll typically show you know, any type of either wear marks or production defects. But you can see these are really nice in terms of the level. I mean, and I wouldn't say they're luxury level or even high level, but you know, considering, yeah, they're $300-400 watch, they do that, and they're very robust and tough. Not all of the luxuries come in the ornate finishing. A lot of it also comes from just being sturdy. I mean, that's kind of how Rolex built its whole brand, and that's how the Swiss-made moniker became what it is today, is because they took these relatively, you know, dainty, mechanical masterworks and made them reliable and sporty and tool. So these tool watches definitely live within that same vein, and I think they will garner collectors' attention and respect and admiration over time, more so than even now. So definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, I've done full reviews on all these models, so feel free to check the channel history for that. I'll try to leave it, make it easier for it to click into these you know, at the end of the video. But if you like the video, please hit like. If you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. And guys, don't forget to let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you guys, I mean, I really enjoy the mini turtle. I like the mini tunas that they've been coming out with. There's a lot of cool stuff that's not just the expensive stuff. There are some great $1,000 and up Seikos, don't get me wrong. That's like where some of the best ones are being released. But there are some really overlooked cheaper watches, some like really cool ones, and these are right within that realm. So yeah, looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts in the comments. Thanks, guys.